Mysteries of the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is the deepest oceanic trench on Earth. It is home to the two lowest points on the planet. It is in the Western Pacific and it is just east of the Mariana Islands near Guam. The whole area surrounding that part of the ocean is quite noteworthy because it has some very unique environments, including vents that bubble up liquid sulfur and carbon dioxide, and there are active mud volcanoes, and there's also very unusual marine life that has adapted to the very high pressures, which are 1,000 times or more that at sea level. Apparently, there's about like 8 tons of pressure at the very deep parts of the trench. The Challenger Deep in the southern end of the Mariana Trench happens to be the deepest spot in the ocean. In 2010, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration attempted to measure from the surface to the bottom. And so they sent sound pulses through the ocean, and they pegged the Challenger Deep D at 36,070 feet, which is about 10,994 meters deep. And then using pressure sensors in 2021, they found the deepest spot in the Challenger Deep was around 35,876 feet, which is 10,935 meters. Estimates do vary, so it's possible that the very deepest point has not actually been measured yet. And the ocean's second deepest place is also in the Mariana Trench. It's called the Sirena Deep, and it lies about 200 kilometers to the east of Challenger Deep, and it is 35,462 feet deep, which is 10,809 meters. The Mariana Trench is about 5 times the length of the Grand Canyon, and that makes it about 2,542 kilometers or 1,580 miles. So it is a huge stretch of water. The narrow trench has an average of about 43 miles wide. The United States actually has jurisdiction over the Mariana Trench, and it is a protected area. In 2009, former President George W. Bush decided to establish the Mariana Trench Marine National Monument. And so was created a protected marine reserve area of about 195,000 square miles of the seafloor and the whole waters that surrounded that whole area and of the remote islands. Included in that, within the Mariana Trench, are also 21 underwater volcanoes and 3 islands, and that whole area is under that kind of protected marine reserve. The trench was actually created by the movements of tectonic plates, which collided and created that whole vast area the way it is today with that great depth. Since the planet bulges at the equator, the trench is not the spot that's closest to the center of the Earth, like some believe. And the radius at the poles is actually about 16 miles less than the radius at the equator. So parts of the Arctic Ocean seabed are actually closer to the Earth's center than the Challenger Deep. The Mariana Islands are actually a chain of volcanoes that rise above the ocean waves, and the shape actually mirrors the crescent-shaped arc of the Mariana Trench itself. and it's interspersed with the islands and many strange undersea volcanoes. So the depth of the Mariana Trench makes it one of the deadliest places on the planet. It is perpetually in darkness, and water temperatures are below 0 Celsius. So, what makes it near impossible for life to live there, as we know it to exist, is actually the extreme water pressure. So, despite the immense distance from everywhere else and from the sunlight, life just seems to be very abundant in the trench, which was actually quite unexpected. All kinds of creatures live there that have adapted to the cold and to the darkness and the, just living conditions down there, the very high pressure and so on, which most other ocean creatures couldn't even survive. Strange sounds have actually also been recorded by, the equipment on the rare occasions when, any probes and things have been sent down there. And some of those sounds can be identified, but most of them are actually of unknown origin. A leading specialist working for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration mentioned the possible existence of large unknown predators in the ocean, and in particular around that area. He believes that some of the giants, such as the megalodons, can still potentially live at great depths in the ocean and remain hidden. And it's possible that these giant creatures could have adapted to the great depths and conditions of strong pressure and absence of light in the Mariana Trench and other deep parts of the ocean. So far, because of the difficulty of properly analyzing that part of the ocean, only about 1% of possible biological species has been discovered in that area. Around 2003, a research apparatus was lowered to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. At a depth of about 6,000 meters, it was noted that the silhouettes of creatures of around 10 meters in size fell into the camera lens. However, it's really not possible to say for sure what they were. They could have been sharks or very large jellyfish or squids, but suffice it to say that these things, these very large silhouettes, remain unidentified. As the research apparatus reached the Mariana Trench itself, an odd thing actually happened. The apparatus became subjected to an attack. The steel side of the vessel turned out to be deformed, and the cable, which is capable of withstanding incredible loads of pressure, was attacked, and someone or something tried to either cut or bite it. No explanation was found or given as to what happened. And by 2018, the number of dives had already exceeded about 20. At one point, there was one particular dive which happened that still remains a mystery even today. While studying the seabed of the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the apparatus happened to record some flashes. Scientists had deciphered them as the luminescence of some of the deep sea inhabitants, which kind of have their own little lights, like the deep sea fishes. For several hours, the device was collecting data on the life down in the deepest point of the oceans. And as soon as there was interference, the broadcast was actually interrupted. It was only by amazing luck, perhaps, that the research probe was managed to be raised and saved, because it was found that a number of scratches were left on its surface, and the video recording was lost due to severe damage to the equipment. Now, this could all be kind of just brushed off as maybe it was just an attack by a large animal, that, shark or whale or something like that. But this set of circumstances was not really normal, because in order to disable this very expensive apparatus with a reinforced body, it would not be enough for a shark or even a huge fish or squid or something to create this kind of damage. To interrupt the broadcast, for example, a representative of the oceanic fauna had to break the skin of the apparatus and then begin to interact with the instruments that are directly inside the research probe. So it sounds like this would have to be something that would require intelligence and not just something that would happen just by accident or just from a normal animal attack. There is an audio recording of this particular dive, and it has been preserved. Before the breakdown, the sensors that were recording happened to catch a kind of rumbling sound. It was somewhat sort of mechanized sound, but it was not possible to establish what caused it. There was really nothing that they could find to explain it. There are different versions of what happened. The first one was that the devices were actually attacked by some kind of large unknown creature. It's possible it could have been something huge like a megalodon or a similar type of animal. And then the second version is that the Mariana Trench is, inhabited by various life forms, and they are living in extreme conditions, and they could acquire the most powerful shell flaps or claws that could possibly damage the skin of even the most durable apparatus. However, it is also possible, and this is something that has been labeled as conspiracy theories, but it's possible that this may be a manifestation of intelligent beings who happen to live down there, or alien activity, and perhaps it's part of a underwater civilization. Precise instrumentation damage and a growing mechanized rumble suggests that this could not have been some kind of chaotic attack by a large animal like a megalodon or a squid or some other large fish, unknown fish or something. So whatever that was, we don't know. Or perhaps it's something that is known and is just not being revealed. But suffice it to say that the Mariana Trench is one of the most mysterious places on the planet, and very little is known about it or about the creatures that live down there, whether they're intelligent life forms or whether they are, sea monsters or megalodons, dinosaurs, whatever. It seems like we have a lot more exploring to do before we can potentially come up with some answers. The Cursed Ship of the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico has an estimated 4,000 shipwrecks, littering the ocean floor across that stretch of water. It is one of the richest locations for maritime archaeology in the world. Some of these ships are wrecked in shallow waters, while others have sunk down to thousands of feet into the dark depths. Between the years of 1625 to 1951, research has shown that at least 2,000 ships have sunk in the federal OCS, with yet thousands more down closer to state waters. One of the most well-known of these wrecks is called the Mica Wreck, named after the oil field where it was found. This old ship seems full of secrets, and there are many claims that it is cursed. In 2001, ExxonMobil workers drilling an 8-inch pipeline 2,600 feet deep in the seabed off the Gulf of Mexico, 30 miles south of the Mississippi River, made an amazing discovery while drilling the pipeline. They had drilled right through the midships of a shipwreck. This was reported to the Mineral Management Service, MMS, now known as the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, since they are in charge of wrecks. An investigation was carried out by the Department of Oceanography and the Nautical Archaeology Program of Texas A&M University. Apparently, several shipwrecks have been investigated by MMS, which include a Civil War Union gunboat, the USS Hatteras, and most recently, the World War II German submarine, the U-166, and passenger freight it sank, the USS Robert E. Lee. The archaeological operation was carried out by the team of the U.S. Navy's Nuclear Research Submarine, NR-1, and her support ship, MV Caroline Suez. The team gathered data of the wreck through sonar imagery and photomosaics of the vessel and area around, that part of the ocean. They estimated that the wreck was around 200 years old. Judging by the copper sheathing, this dated the ship at between about 1775 to 1830. Copper sheathing was used to protect vessels from wood-eating sea life, and this was both expensive and uncommon back then, suggesting that the vessel may have been a coastal merchant ship. The ship was likely a schooner. It was 60 feet long, with 2 masts and laying upright and mostly intact. These types of vessels were quite frequently seen at that time in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean and in American waters. Schooner was sunk during the Battle of New Orleans during the 1812 war. An A&M scientist, Brett A. Phaneuf, who coordinated the expedition, quoted in the New York Times about the ship, "Everything that can go wrong has." Phaneuf was planning to bring up artifacts from the wreckage to get a better idea of the age of the sunken ship and perhaps more information about it. But like all other missions relating to this particular wreck, all efforts were beset with mishaps and failure. They sent down a mini sub to view the wreck, and after being in the water for barely 30 minutes, the hydraulic system in the docking station balked, and the video monitor kept blacking out each time the thrusters fired. Yet the misfortunes and problems continued, and after the submarine reached the wreck, the sonar failed. The scientists failed to reboot the system, to no avail. Things grew worse as the captain misheard a direction on top of everything else, which meant the sub was yanked away in the opposite direction. Months later, in July 2002, the curse of the wreck struck again as the team for the NR-1 and the Caroline Suez tried to launch a robotic sub down to the site of the wreck. The result was that as soon as the rover entered the water, it veered to the right and lost control. The tether caught in the propellers and the vessel smashed into the underside of the ship. The rover was never seen again. On the seabed, the crew of the NR-1 tried to map the site and shoot a video of the wreck and the area. Robot arms were too short, however, to grab the artifacts on the bottom, so they decided to instead try for the stern post where the rudder was once located. But returning to the surface, the hydraulic system failed and the robotic arm stopped working. The post fell and was also never seen again. So the curse struck again, however, in the summer of 2002, when a ship from the Sustainable Sea Program of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration offered to collect artifacts from the site around the wreck. When the vessel attempted to leave the dock, debris lodged in the propeller at the second attempt, and the propeller locked so that the ship had to go for repairs on dry dock. The research crew gave up and they planned to join the team on the way back. But again, misfortune struck. They broke a prop shaft which went out the back of the boat and flooded the engine room so that they almost sank and had to call Mayday. And then again, in 2003, another attempt was made to go down with a rover, but again, the vehicle died on the deck due to a leak which caused a 1,500 volt cable to vaporize. Miraculously, however, the team did successfully send down the rover 2 times following repairs. But little information was learned of the mysterious wreck, except a possible build location and date. The only object recovered was a small piece of copper plating, but there was nothing on it. There was no writing, nothing to identify the vessel. So it was deemed next to useless. So to date, little is still known of the Mica Wreck, despite obtaining high-quality imaging at the site of the wreck, and so the unknown vessel keeps the secrets of its identity and of who was on board when it sank on that fateful day, or what its destination was. It continues to lurk in the darkness of the 2,600-foot deep stretch of ocean, perhaps waiting for someone else to dare venture near it one day. But for now, and perhaps forever, it remains a mystery.